Hello everyone, my name is Iris. My student number is 186131142. Today I'm going to discuss about school funding issue in Australian education. Do you think that Australian school funding is fair for every school? Firstly, let's talk about the school funding policy. According to Australian Government Department of Education, 2019, the Australian Education Act 2013 is the principal legislation for the provision of Australian government funding to government and non-government schools. The purpose of school funding is to provide an equal support school performance that allows schools to access to better facilities and resources. A report of Australian Government Department of Education, Skills and Employment 2019b state that public school isn't receive the right amount of need, while non-government schools got more than needed. In fact, lower performing schools often fail in public schools. These schools are located in lower socioeconomic or poverty areas. In terms of public and private, Perry's 2018 suggests that Australia had one of the largest resource gaps between public and private schools, with public schools being provided with far less educational resources such as books and facilities. HUPAS 2018 states that students from socially advantaged schools, those more often than not being private schools, receive greater educational advantage than disadvantaged schools. The Bank West Curtin Economics Center report 2017 mentions that where the government funding are equally divided for all public school and non-government school based on the need of the schools across the state. However, this report raised a question of the equity in educational system in Australia. In terms of equity, will the government funding meet the requirements of the particular school in order to provide a fair go for every student in every school? Equity and equality are very similar, but equity should not be confused with the equality. Equity is more about fairness. Equity is what students need and how to give each student what she or he needs. Equity is what a student needs and how to give each student what he or she needs to perform at an acceptable level in his or her study journal, while equality is all students receive the same resources, opportunity. In theory, every school district gets the same level of funding, but it is not enough to provide equity, especially in remote and rural areas. The percentage of disadvantaged and lack of necessary academic facilities and educational resources are always higher. The Bank West Curtin's Economics Center report 2017 also point out the fact that school-aged children in Australia did not receive a real fair go in accessing education opportunities. So, how the socio-economic background of the school lead to inequity in disadvantaged and rural schools. Let's look at the graph of Thomson 2017. The shortage of materials and infrastructure show the big gaps between students in disadvantaged and advantaged schools. For example, students in this disadvantaged school always lacks of material of educational material such as textbook or IT equipment and so on. In the next slide, the result of these advantages directly impact children educational performance and results as so in this graph. For example, students in remote school are 1.5 years behind metropolitan students. 70% indigenous students are below the baseline of math in Australia, and so on. So, what can be done to improve equity in Australia education? School funding should based on the needs of students and school rather than provide the same funding for every school. For example, some public schools need more classes and reduce the size of school classes, provide extra professional training for teachers, increase number of well-trained educators and supporters for immerse students in the classroom, provide more books, technologies, and education resources for public school, especially in disadvantaged areas. Thank you for listening, and this is my reference list.